discretion advised. The words in this video are not exaggerated or dramatized. All information is based on publicly available testimony, legal filings, and verified media reports. While some details may be disturbing, they are presented accurately for informational and commentary purposes only.
What happens when one of the most powerful men in music is no longer in control of the narrative? Like and subscribe first, since I'm basically telling you facts first for decades. Sean Diddy Combs was untouchable, a mogul who turned street hustle into a billion-dollar empire. He launched icons, dominated charts, and built a brand around glitz, power, and success. But behind the private jets and luxury parties, a darker story was quietly unfolding. Now, the walls are closing in. Shocking testimony from some of the industry's biggest names has shattered the silence. Explosions, break-ins, secret recordings. What started as whispers has become a full-blown trial, with allegations too disturbing to ignore. And at the center of it all is a man who once seemed invincible. This isn't just about fame, power, or even justice. This is about the truth finally catching up. Before the headlines, before the lawsuits, Sean Combs was hip-hop royalty. He didn't just ride the wave, he created it. Starting as an intern at Uptown Records, he climbed fast, launching Bad Boy Records in 1993 and turning it into a cultural powerhouse. Biggie, Mace, 112. If Diddy touched it, it turned to gold. But his empire wasn't just built on talent. It was built on control. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered about his intense need to dominate every room he walked into. He wasn't just a producer, he was the orchestrator. Every beat, every deal, every artist ran through him. And for years, that image worked. Diddy was the charming CEO, the fashion icon, the party king. To most of the world, he was unstoppable. But to those closest to him, the power came with a price. Because behind the champagne and camera flashes, something far more disturbing was already in motion. And the first cracks in his kingdom? They began with someone who knew him better than anyone. When Cassie Ventura entered Diddy's world in the early 2000s, she was a rising star with a smooth voice and undeniable presence. At first, their connection looked like another industry romance. Powerful man meets promising young artist. But beneath the surface, it was far from ordinary. By the time Cassie signed with Bad Boy Records, rumors were already swirling. Diddy wasn't just managing her career, he was controlling it. What she wore, who she saw, where she went. Everything was under his watch. Friends began noticing her disappearance from the spotlight, her silence at events, the unease behind her eyes. And then came the claims. In 2023, Cassie filed a bombshell lawsuit, one that shattered the industry's illusion of Diddy as the charismatic mogul. She accused him of physical over years. But it wasn't just the claims, it was the details. Freak-offs, hidden cameras, isolation, threats. The response, swift. Diddy's legal team denied everything. But the public's reaction was different. For the first time, people weren't brushing it off. And Cassie wasn't alone anymore, because others were watching and preparing to speak. One of them? A world-famous artist who would soon testify to something explosive, literally. Okay, now it's Kid Cudi's testimony. When Kid Cudi took the stand, the courtroom shifted. This wasn't just a cameo from a fellow artist. This was a direct hit to Diddy's reputation from someone with nothing to gain and everything to lose. Calm but visibly serious, Cudi, real name Scott Mescudi, unleashed a testimony that stunned the room. He wasn't just friends with Cassie. In 2011, During a rough patch in her relationship with Diddy, they had quietly begun dating. Nothing wild, nothing public. But once Diddy found out, Cudi said everything changed. Cudi described how Diddy allegedly broke into his house without permission. No forced entry, just an unlocked door. Inside, his dog was locked in the bathroom, and expensive gifts from Chanel had been opened. Cudi came home to silence, but the message was loud and clear. I know where you are. I can get in. And it didn't stop there. In early 2012, Cudi's car, parked safely in his driveway, suddenly exploded into flames. Photos shown in court revealed the charred wreckage. Cassie had previously testified that Diddy threatened to blow up Cudi's car. Now the visual proof was staring back at the jury. Cudi didn't accuse Diddy directly, but he didn't have to. His words were chilling. It wasn't just hearsay anymore. The unspoken fear surrounding Diddy had a name, a face, and a very public moment of reckoning. And still, the most disturbing part? It wasn't the house break-in or the car explosion. It was what Cassie told him in private. Cudi didn't flinch when the questions turned personal. Under oath, he revealed what many had only whispered about. Cassie told him that Diddy Cudi said plainly. Sometimes he would. His voice didn't tremble, but the room felt it. These weren't second-hand rumors. This was a first-hand confession, shared between two people trying to find peace in the middle of chaos. Cudi admitted he was in love with Cassie. But even that wasn't enough to keep her safe, or himself. As the drama escalated, he backed off, not because he wanted to, but because the situation was spiraling. I just wanted to give it some space, he said, for my safety and for her safety. It was a chilling statement, because by now, this wasn't about jealousy. This wasn't a love triangle gone wrong. This was about fear. And the more the pieces came together, the more it looked like Diddy wasn't acting out of heartbreak, but out of obsession. But what made it worse? The threats weren't just emotional. They were calculated, public. And Cassie wasn't the only one Diddy tried to silence. Okay, so what I'm about to say next is kind of disturbing. Behind every allegation was something more sinister, a system. This wasn't just about violence or emotional control. According to testimony, Diddy operated what prosecutors called a 20-year scheme of manipulation, intimidation. Central to this scheme were the so-called freak-offs. They were some party multiple witnesses claimed weren't just wild gatherings, but traps. These events, according to Ventura, Fine, and others, were orchestrated not just for, but for power, because many of them were recorded. Ventura, Fine testified that Diddy threatened to release explicit videos of her. Footage allegedly taken without consent during these freak-offs, if she ever tried to leave him or speak out. It wasn't just a threat, it was a message. I own you, and the threats didn't end with her. After Diddy found out about the emails Cassie sent to a former assistant, emails that suggested she was planning to visit Cudi, he allegedly flew into a rage. According to her testimony, she escaped, but the threat lingered. Later, Diddy allegedly warned her that he had people who could hurt her and Cudi. He was out of the country at the time, but his reach, according to Ventura, Fine, never depended on being in the room. By this point, the allegations weren't just shocking, they were systemic, calculated. And the scariest part? people had been whispering for years, but no one had ever said it this loud. In 2018, something shifted. Diddy's former partner, Kimberly Kim Porter, the mother of 3 of his children, suddenly passed away. Her death stunned fans and insiders alike, and while no foul play was publicly reported, the emotional impact was seismic. Just months after Porter's death, Cassie walked away from Diddy for good. It was a quiet exit, no press conference, no public fallout. But for those who had been watching closely, it felt like the ending of something deeply toxic. After nearly a decade under his shadow, she finally disappeared from Diddy's orbit. She resurfaced a year later, married to her personal trainer, Alex Fine. To some, it looked like a fresh start. To others, it looked like an escape. But the silence was deafening. For years, Cassie didn't speak publicly about what she'd been through. Neither did Cudi, and neither did Diddy, until the lawsuits and courtrooms forced everything into the light. Because while Cassie may have walked away in 2018, the ghosts of her past, and the people allegedly damaged along the way, were only just starting to speak up. The image of that burning car in Cudi's driveway isn't just a headline. It's a symbol of the chaos that followed him long after his brief relationship with Cassie ended. Cudi recalled the moment he got the call. His car was engulfed in flames, a violent act that no one ever fully explained. At a private meeting afterward, Cudi confronted Diddy, who denied any involvement. But for Cudi, the truth was clear. He felt lied to, threatened, and targeted. Despite the turmoil, Cudi keeps his distance now. He's moved on, but he hasn't forgotten. His testimony wasn't just about exposing alleged abuse. It was a warning, a reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked. As the trial continues, more secrets are sure to surface. And while Diddy maintains his innocence, the voices of those who say otherwise are growing louder and harder to ignore. The story unfolding in this courtroom isn't just about accusations or legal battles. It's about the hidden costs of fame, power, and control. Behind the glitz and glamour, darker truths lurk, and for those who speak out, the risks are real. Sean Diddy Combs stands accused of a long, disturbing pattern of threat and manipulation. But the full story is still unfolding. As witnesses come forward and secrets unravel, one thing is clear. No one is untouchable, and no secret stays buried forever. What will this trial reveal next?